Many people fall in love with the idea of moving to South Charlotte, but sometimes discover there are some things they wish they'd known before making the move. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the top 10 reasons that people sometimes regret their move, but more importantly, I'm going to highlight how you can avoid making those mistakes so you can make the move to South Charlotte a smooth one. With all that said, let's jump in. Reason number one that people may regret making the move to South Charlotte is they underestimate the commute time. Especially if you're working in Uptown, South End, or Ballantyne. A number of offices are in these areas, and the commute, depending on where you are, can really range from 30 minutes, 45 minutes. It really depends, especially if you're coming from some of the most popular areas of South Charlotte, like Waxhaw, there's Matthews, and all of these places where you're dealing with rush hour, you're dealing with just general commute time. And these areas can really vary, but if you're moving from somewhere where there's not much traffic, you're gonna hit some traffic. Now, if you're moving from somewhere like New York City or very popular areas or populated areas, the drive time will feel maybe not like much, but the drive times are substantial, especially during rush hour. Recommendation, definitely test drive these areas yourself. Take a drive during these rush hour times from the community that you're looking at. Date the area, see what it's like at the worst of times so you know what you're getting into and you're not caught off guard. Reason number two that regret may set in if you're moving to South Charlotte, and this is a big one because schools are so important for many buyers in the area, and that reason is you may be picking the wrong area for the schools that you're choosing. A lot of times there's rezoning, or you just may pick a school that is not within the zoning that you thought it was a part of. So it's really important to work with a professional that can help you make sure the home and the schools match up for what your expectations are. There are a lot of great sites that are very helpful, like greatschools.org. But the reality when it comes to school zones is that they can change. There is rezoning. The South Charlotte area is extremely popular. A lot of people are moving in, so the zoning is changing. You may think you're in one school zone for Ballantyne or Ardrey Ridge, Ardrey Kell, or Weddington, and it may get rezoned to another school zone. So it's really important to plan ahead, make sure you get all your boxes checked for what you're looking for in terms of education, making sure the zoning, there are ways to determine that. All the different school districts have a plan, have a map that you can see where those homes lay within. So it's important to make sure that you are where you think you're going to be and plan ahead. A quick transition, if this is your first time to our channel and you want to know all things going on in the South Charlotte area, things like what you need to avoid so you don't regret moving to a certain area like South Charlotte, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel so you'll be the first to know as we release new videos all the time. I'm Steve Jarrell with the Longleaf Group, and I love helping people just like you every single day make the move to the South Charlotte area, make the best move for you. So make sure you reach out. All of our information is below. Love to help you. So with all that said, let's get back to the show. And reason number three that people may regret making the move to the South Charlotte area, and that is not fully understanding the HOA that they may be moving into. What are the restrictions? What are the covenants? All of the things that are going to be a part of this particular HOA. And what we've found is a lot of times people move into a community that has an HOA and they're not prepared. We find out about it down the road that they thought they were moving into a community that they could rent it out, rent their home out, and there's rental restrictions, or there's a high HOA fee and the expectation is that something may be covered that's not. So it's really important to know what is the feel for the HOA, how strict are they on certain things. And so it's important to get those HOA documents, the CCRs, your covenants, your restrictions, all of the things that are going to be required of you as a homeowner in a particular community so you're not caught off guard expecting one thing and having something totally the opposite, and upkeep and different requirements cost, or special assessments that can jump out if the HOA doesn't have the fees to cover certain things. So it's really important to think ahead, to get all of the information. A professional can absolutely help you guide along the way, but HOAs can be a huge reason for regret if you're not under the right assumption for what the HOA entails. Reason number 4 that regret can set in for moving to an area in South Charlotte, and that is what I like to call growth fatigue. A lot of times people move to an area and it is perfect the way it is, and everything seems perfect within the population, the growth. A year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, that growth is exponential and continues to explode. And we see it all the time. And there's a reason you loved moving to this area, but it's also a reason a lot of other people like to move there. New homes are popping up, new communities, areas like Ballantyne, the Waverly area, down to even Indian Land in South Carolina, which is essentially a neighborhood community of the South Charlotte area. And these areas are continuing to grow because the prices are not quite where they are in some of the other parts of South Charlotte, or they're just super attractive because of the schools. But that growth, that infrastructure, the development is continuing to grow in the areas, and so is the congestion. Just like we mentioned, reason number 1 was the commute times. Well, this growth that obviously contributes to the traffic and the congestion and commute times. So that's something to be very particular. Make sure, does growth in this area support what you consider a positive, or is it a negative? And really seeing what do the projections look like for the area you're moving. Growth and potential congestion of different roads is a negative. We need to really make sure that that's on your roadmap for what this community is going to look like, not just next year, but 5, 10 years down the road. Reason number 5 that people may regret the decision to move to South Charlotte, or haven't fully understood the differences in living in South Charlotte. And number 5 is definitely one that sticks out for those that are uneducated, of North Carolina versus South Carolina, and the differences that they really have, since both of them can be in the South Charlotte area. Areas like Fort Mill, Indian Land, Rock Hill, and not understanding differences such as taxes. Big tax differences, especially with investment properties. South Carolina is much more expensive on the tax side of things if it's a secondary home. And on the North Carolina side, it's much cheaper on the investment side, but when you're looking at primary homes, the difference, especially Mecklenburg County versus South Carolina, York County, it's quite a bit cheaper to be in the South Carolina than North Carolina. There's other differences in healthcare, differences in road upkeep. I mean, there's a lot of things you'll find that are different, and until you understand those differences, or unfortunately you move there and learn after the fact, they can be painful. So that's why it's really important, and I've seen it many times where people don't understand that till they get their tax bill, or they learn about they need to get their license updated for some of the tax credits. But it's important to understand, and that is a big regret that people may have if they move to the area without fully understanding that line that separates North Carolina and South Carolina. Reason number 6 that regret may set in, and that is moving where your budget affords and not having the right expectations. A lot of times with prices continuing to appreciate and requiring home buyers to move farther and farther on the outskirts of Charlotte, sometimes when we find that home, we find that we're so far out from where our jobs are, where our friends are, or where things to do are, that we regret making the decision to move farther out based on wanting a larger home and some of the other trade-offs that come with living farther out and getting a bigger home. So it's really important as you're looking for a home to really balance what is most important and you always want to stay within your price point, but you may want to consider how important distance to work, the center core of the greater Charlotte area, and just make sure you balance those so you're not regretting later on that you're farther out than you wanted to be based on your budget or other considerations. Reason number 7, and all the runners out there can definitely appreciate this one, and it is overestimating the walkability of a community or area within South Charlotte. A lot of times communities looking at it on a map look like they're going to be the best for taking walks or runs or places to walk to get something to eat, things to do. And when you get there, it's not what you thought. Sidewalks, or there's just not a great area for taking a run or taking a jog. And you see that a lot of times in communities that may not have sidewalks or just don't have that development there yet. In Weddington, for example, sidewalks and things that you would see in areas like Ballantyne or some of the other communities are not here. And you may have to run upside of or walk upside of a road to get to some place that from your home that other places may have a more walkable community. So if you're expecting one thing, make sure you date the area, take a night out or take a stroll through a community and see what it's like. Can you walk or run where you want to? That is a big one to assess the walkability before you make the move to an area. We're making our way up the list, and now we're at number 8 of reasons people may regret the move to South Charlotte. And this is one that is a little more intricate, takes a little bit more getting to know a community, but that is a place in South Charlotte that you're looking at maybe missing that hometown feel or community feel. And you may realize there's not many events going on, there's not many ways to connect to a community. And that's really important too, especially if you have perhaps a young family, you're trying to connect with others, or you want to be part of different civic organizations. So it's really important to do your research, to try to attend if there's different events going on, different parades on the downtown areas like Waxhaw or Matthews or Belmont have really tight-knit communities, and they really interact and have activities on their downtown areas throughout the year. And it's great to go and to experience those yourself, to see, does this have that feel that I was really hoping to find in the next home or community that I look for in my new home. And that's really something we find where people are trying to find that connection, and that's why it's so important and why it's such a high factor for people regretting and looking for it in their next home. Reason number 9, and that is that there has been a change in construction patterns or noise increase in an area. And that obviously can be a huge regret, moving to an area and really not understanding what are the future plans for a home or community that you're looking to move to. An example could be a giant industrial car wash or something that is going to create a huge amount of noise that's obviously going to distract your day-to-day life, or even future home sales of your home or appreciation of your home down the road. Could be a change in traffic patterns, just a variety of things that can be a huge regret, that after you've bought your place or lived there, that there's a surprise noise that you can't even get your kids to sleep at night, or whatever the fact is that can be an issue. And that's why it can be a regret and why it's number 9 on our list. And last but not least on our list is not finding a home that matches your long-term lifestyle match. And that includes you're a young family and you're moving to a community that has a 55 plus vibe, or vice versa. You've got a community that is a young vibe and you realize after the fact that it is not what you're looking for as you're aging and you're wanting more of a laid back, have a community with a communities director, do swim aerobics, or whatever the fact is that you're looking for. But it's really important to find that vibe you're looking for. An example could be somewhere like South End or Noda, or some places that have more of a lively vibe or a younger demographic, versus some areas that are catered more towards the senior living, or which of course my parents would kill me to say the senior living in some of the communities that we have down here that do have that vibe, the 55 plus vibe. There's Sun City in the Indian Land area that it is a 55 plus community, but there's other areas that are catered towards those communities that aren't necessarily 55 plus communities. So it's really important to match where you're looking, make sure it's a good long-term fit, and not get to a position where you realize 6 months down the road that this is just not gonna work. It's not what I was expecting. So doing your research, exploring the community, talking with neighbors, and there's a lot of ways to avoid that from happening. All of those added up from 1 to 10 are very avoidable regrets that you may have making the move to the area, but it's also helpful to have a professional on your side that can help guide you along the way, provide advice so you are making the best decision for you. Thank you for joining us today as we walked through 10 avoidable regrets that people may have making a move to South Charlotte or any areas, especially South Charlotte, because it's so attractive in many ways, and it can be easy to fall into a trap of missing some of those things that should be caught before you move to an area. I love helping people just like you every single day, so make sure if you have more questions, reach out. I'm Steve Jarrell with the Longleaf Group. Until next time, see you then.